Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha. I know that as far as timely news goes, this video is a bit behind the times, and I do apologize for that. Unfortunately, the day job must still remain a priority for my continued survival. As such, all I can do is say that I regret the lapse in content these past 2 weeks, but I am back now and I intend to start ramping things back up. But we've got a lot of work to do though, so let's dig in, shall we? So, what's been going on in Bungie land? Well, it would seem that they have lobbed themselves headfirst into a brand new controversy just as soon as they could. I'm actually beginning to wonder if their business model is based around morbid curiosity as opposed to anything else at this point. I was approached a couple of days ago by a viewer with a link to Destiny 2's new faction rally stating that Bungie had broken their promises yet again. I thought to myself, what else is new? And I didn't give it too much thought. I figured I would circle back to it and do more of a news mashup style video for Bungie's January mistakes, controversies, and broken promises. It would seem though that was probably a mistake, as that was only the initial bit of information I received. So let me run through a quick timeline for you. 3 days ago, Destiny 2's new Season 2 faction rally was released. I would gather from that viewer's statement and from patch notes that originally the faction rally required the Curse of Osiris in order to participate, although it would appear that Bungie did release a same-day patch to remove that restriction. Now, to be clear, this is an instance of Bungie actually keeping one of their promises. I don't mind bashing on companies, but credit where it's due. Even though this is an infinitesimally small thing that they still managed to initially screw up and were forced to fix after the fact, it did only take them a matter of hours. So kudos to the Bungie team for fixing something in a timely fashion. Next in the list of Faction Follies 2018 would be that players discovered that if they earned faction rewards too quickly, the game throttled them and they stopped receiving faction points, most notably on Lost Sectors. And many people assumed this was yet another bug, but Bungie confirmed that the throttling was entirely intentional, releasing an update stating the following. We're aware of player reports about Lost Sectors not granting rewards. There was a throttle added to address an issue in the previous faction rallies where players were earning 500 tokens per hour. The patch note concerning this change has been updated to correctly state that all Lost Sector chests are subject to this throttle. Right now, if a player opens more than 2 chests in a 10-minute period, they will not receive additional rewards from Lost Sector chests for 10 minutes. This does not prevent players from completing milestones related to Lost Sector chests. And I just have to interject here that they throttled the amount of tokens you could get because people were earning 500 tokens per hour that they felt was an egregious amount. You know what I would do? You know what I would personally do instead? I would throw up a counter for everyone to see on each faction, how many tokens each faction has collected to date. Increase the competition between the different factions. Force them into that gamification of trying to one-up each other. That one-upmanship can be very valuable to a lot of people, especially the winners who manage to work so very hard to beat everyone else out. This seems like very much like a completely missed opportunity here. And what this means basically is that Bungie designed their faction rally poorly, and instead of correcting the main issue in 1 or 2 areas, they instead throttled faction tokens across the board. And of course, as one might expect, the Destiny 2 community was absolutely livid, many beginning to raise the questions as well as in regards to whether or not there will be actual loot in this loot-based game. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is due to the fact that none of the Season 2 faction rally weapons are currently available within the new faction engrams. In regards to this, Bungie stated in the forums, with the release of Curse of Osiris, each faction has received 5 new weapons. These weapons became available over the course of the season and cannot be earned through faction engrams immediately. In the first faction rally of Season 2 this week, there is a new auto rifle available as the winner's offering. No new faction weapons are available through faction engrams. In the second faction rally of the season, the winner's offering is updated to a new weapon. Additionally, the previous winner's offering, auto rifles, and an additional weapon are added to the faction engram rewards. Now, the final faction rally of the season will follow this functionality. The winner's offerings will be updated to a final weapon that has yet to be featured. The previous winning's offerings will be added to the faction engram rewards alongside an additional weapon. This brings the total to 4 weapons within the faction engram, and a final winner's offering for factions to compete for over the course of the event. And looking at all of this, one has to wonder what in the hell is going through their heads at this point. They keep on regurgitating the same tired line of promising that they are listening to feedback and that they are going to communicate changes before they make them, and yet in terms of token throttling and the initial requirement that one own Curse of Osiris in order to take part in the faction rallies were all updated or disclosed after the fact yet again, and they have once again doubled down on this nonsense in their This Week at Bungie statement released earlier today, in which they had the following to say. There was an issue in the previous faction rallies where players were earning hundreds of faction tokens per hour without firing a single shot. In the recent December 12 update, faction token rewards were added to an existing system that was locking players out from lost sector rewards. We have heard player feedback that this solution was too disruptive. We're looking at a change that won't make players feel forced to run to and from a single chest for hours while also not placing a hard stop on enjoying lost sectors. We want to ensure that every time you open a chest, there is loot inside. We'll share more details on this before the next faction rallies. The other question that players immediately asked when decrypting their faction engrams was, where are the new Season 2 weapons? It was not made clear beforehand that the new Season 2 weapons would be added throughout the event of the season rather than all at once in the beginning. This was on us, no excuses. You can read the full details with how the weapons will be rolled out here. We will be remedying this lapse in communication next week with details on what you should expect when the next Iron Banner rolls out in Season 2. I'm honestly just in complete and utter disbelief at this point in time. This is now Bungie's, 10th controversy? It's gotten to the point now where I have had to keep all of my screenshots and links in separate subfolders for Destiny 2 just to keep the controversies straight. We've had the ban controversy, the issue with the shaders, the Curse of Osiris controversy, the 3 of Coins, the job listing for a position to tie the Eververse into game progression, the Dawning debacle, the XP throttling, the abortive response to the Remove Eververse movement, and the disclosure by Kotaku's Jason Schreier that Bungie apparently feels making content for the game is too much damn work. And now this. Bungie seriously needs to get their house in order. If they don't, then there will be no Destiny 3 despite their contractual obligations that state otherwise. Instead, I'm not entirely certain they even know what it is they're doing at this point in time. Case in point, the next section in their This Week at Bungie statement was a segment from Josh Hamrick, which seems to be treating this as if it were an audio or video recording. Or was this a stream or something? There's no link to a video or a stream embedded in the posting, and I couldn't find one anywhere online. Or perhaps they recorded Josh Hamrick and then simply transcribed what he said later? Well, the world may never know. Regardless, here's what Josh Hamrick had to say, and yes, I'm going to read this in my announcer voice in order to grant the required flavor to how it was written. Hey everybody, Sandbox here. We just wanted to drop in for a moment to verify that we're already hard at work and making progress on various improvements Christopher Barrett outlined last week. Additionally, I wanted to give you all better insight as to how the next several months are shaping up. As with any plans, the first items on the list are the clearest and well-defined. For most of these, we are already hard at work and making good progress on them. The Exotic Pass is moving forward nicely with John Wisniewski at the helm. The team has also been talking about things we want to see in the next Balance Pass coming to you in Season 3 for the last several weeks. Also, Grant McKay has put together a really exciting plan for Mods 2.0 that will open their requirements up significantly, allowing them to be more potent in ways that you'll end up feeling directly in your ability uptime and therefore total power output. The rest of the crew, you ask? Oh, they're just hard at work on super exciting new content to put smiles on all your faces before the year is out, and that's just the beginning. Items further down the list need more planning or more time to actually implement. Most need both. On top of that, some need groundwork that we will be laying with earlier changes. In all these cases, though, the team is already discussing and planning for them in one way or another. As usual, we are excited to work on building something that you'll love and that feels great to play, because Sandbox loves you. 2018 is shaping up to be a huge year for all of us, and there is plenty of Sandbox improvements and changes coming your way. As we move closer to realizing all of the new efforts being made, we'll continue to show up here to share many more details about how it's all shaping up and how it will all work. We expect you to keep showing up and sharing your feedback and passion for the game. Talk to you again soon, Hamrick. Is it sad that actually hurts my throat a little bit? So basically, here we are in January, and fans get to look forward to something by year's end. Bungie seems to be consistent in only a few specific areas, and none of them are instilling any form of confidence. The first is their constant, "we will communicate changes before we make them." This is always followed immediately after by the community finding yet another example of Bungie instituting a change that is absolutely horrendous, which is then again followed by Bungie coming clean and admitting they made the change. This, of course, also ties into their constant "we are listening" statement, and that's all well and good, but the major difficulty here is that there is a world of difference between listening and hearing. Bungie is, I'm quite certain, listening to all of the player feedback, but what players are getting back is not changes and corrections, but a demonstrably proven history that their pleas continue to fall on deaf ears. In addition, one other thing that Bungie seems to be entirely too consistent on is their use of throttling, whether it be XP or faction points. In both cases, it was a gross overcorrection in order to resolve an issue that wasn't even really there to begin with. This seems to be born out of Bungie's desire to control the player experience to such an extreme state that they end up completely ruining any possibility to garner any fun out of the game. Bungie fails to understand what it is they're doing wrong, and it continues to bite both them and the players squarely in the backside. And the worst of it is the same exact promises over and over and over and over again. You see, most gamers, when faced with a bug or an issue, are gracious when properly communicated with. They understand the human element and that humans are capable of error, and obviously nothing is going to be perfect first time out. They get that. And if you make an honest effort to make corrections and to communicate, then they will accept it and move on, and will be more willing to grant you leeway if you show any form of growth and responsiveness. Bungie has not done that. They've shown every time that while they do acknowledge their mistakes, they take no steps to make certain they learn from those mistakes. And by learning, I mean making certain they're not repeated. And I know how it goes. I do. There was a couple of months where I went through a period of repeated mistakes. It was completely demoralizing, and people began losing faith in me. I understand how that goes. I know that it begins to feel like the more you mess up, the more you will. But Bungie has to break this cycle. The problem is, I see no evidence of their being capable of doing so. Nothing will change with Destiny 2. Not for a good long while, at any rate. And Bungie needs to innovate instead of continuing to go down the same path that they're doing, and I'm going to do something that I don't normally do. Instead of just pointing out the problem, I'm going to offer some of my own solutions here, and I'm going to ask for the fans that wish to make Destiny 2 better to do the same in the comments below. We'll go through, we'll pick the best ones, and I will reach out to other content creators and attempt to elevate this to an actual collaborative discussion that can be brought to Bungie, because at the end of the day, people just want a good game to play, and I'm sure that Bungie wants to be able to not wake up to a PR nightmare of their own creation day after day. So here's my initial thoughts on how Bungie can make Destiny 2 better. First off is the Eververse. Now I know this is strictly coming from the standpoint of a person who absolutely loathes loot boxes and everything they entail, but the Eververse needs severe changes. I'm not saying remove it, as it is so completely tied to Bungie's monetization that will never fly, but it can be improved. First off, I don't see an easy way to get rid of the in-game currency, so let's leave it alone for now. But what we can do is remove the loot box gambling randomization from the Eververse. Keep the bright engrams, but let's rework that a little bit too. Allow the items to be direct purchasables. Remove the loot boxes completely. Instead, you have the items that can be purchased with either the premium currency or with bright dust. Or you can have items that require that enough bright dust be collected that can be forged into a bright engram. You already have the models there, so let's use them after all. So you have, say, a particular batch of shaders that costs 2 bright engrams and 100 bright dust, and then each bright engram is, say, 500 or 1000 bright dust to forge. This will allow you to better track trends with your Eververse market and determine what the popular items are, so you can do special bundles and promotions with that data. And eliminating the randomization therein, allowing people to earn them at a reasonable grind rate or purchase them with premium currency, means they are cosmetic and the gambling mechanic is removed, is a total win for everyone involved. But coming off the back of that is the vault space. Increase it and allow better stacking options, period. There's simply no excuse for that, guys. Come on. And also give a period of, say, 1 month. Take that month and fix your damn game. fix all the bugs, fix all the balancing issues that you keep on trying to merely patch by throttling, people will accept that if at the same time, while you gear that month up, you focus on creating a couple of new strikes and some new loot. Just 2 strikes even. I know that making content is hard, but there is so little to do in the game that you've got to do something to increase replayability. Actually, scratch that, you should be doing both of those at the same time. Also, come up with some new enemy classes. The ones that you have are basically the same things, just with different skins and headshot locations. Also, take a look at some other games for some inspiration on new activities. Something Destiny players haven't had a chance to play in your games. Something to provide people that will be able to engage them in what you're offering while you fix what you have. Also, as I stated on Twitter, I am leaving an open invitation to Chris Barrett for an interview regarding all of the issues with Destiny 2. If by some miracle he even notices and deigns to accept, I will grasp the opportunity with both hands to make certain it's not a hit piece, but a chance at some open and frank discussion, hopefully where everyone will come out the other side the better for it. We'll see what happens though. My guess would be nothing, but you never know until you try. But as always, please do let me know what you think down in the comments below, and don't forget to leave your suggestions on how to improve Destiny 2. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time. If you like what I do on this channel and would like to see the channel go full-time, consider donating on Patreon or PayPal, as well as hitting that subscribe button and following me on social media. Links to everything are in the description down below.